And we're live. It snuck up on me. We are live. This is RockSim Live. I am Tim Van Milligan. I am your host, and I seem to be live. So I was checking my screen here to see if I was live. Hopefully the sound is okay. It looks to be okay. Today is August 8th, 2025. This is episode 208. Hard to believe. This is where we talk about RockSim, RockSim Pro, or the Launch Visualizer. So this is where we're going to answer your questions. So as you come in today, go ahead and type in your questions because I don't have anything to talk about else. Today, it kind of snuck up on me today. I was thinking about coming back here and getting things set up about 1 o'clock, about an hour ago. And then all of a sudden we had a rush of customers that came in through our front door, and it overwhelmed the front people. And so they put in an SOS for anybody to help. And they reached down in the bottom of the barrel and they found me. So I always spent probably about 15, 20 minutes helping a customer, and that just got me distracted. So it was really good to help a customer. It's like just to find out what they're working on and what things that they want. That's kind of like the inside scoop, man. We've got a bunch of people here, but nobody has said hello yet. So hopefully the chat is working. So I guess we'll go ahead and get the preliminary stuff out of the way. The preliminary stuff is where do you find information about RockSim? Let me bring up my desktop here. There we go. So this is the Apogee Components website. ApogeeRockets.com. Look at that. The yellow bar that used to be up there is now gone. We changed over our website a few weeks ago, and we had some problems with some of the features that didn't carry over into the new website. So things like paying your taxes and being able to do school purchases without taxes. Tax-free stuff, for those nonprofits, they don't pay taxes, and they don't like it when they have to pay taxes. Nobody likes it when you have to pay taxes, but they particularly don't like it when they have to pay taxes. So, and that yellow bar on top of the screen used to tell people, say, hey, we're having problems. But hopefully most of them have gone away, so that's why we're no longer seeing that. Okay, we have 3 people that said hello. We have Troy Ermit from Riverton, Utah, Chris Howe from Michigan, and Charles Willis from Dixon, Tennessee. So welcome, gentlemen. Go ahead and put in your questions because I don't have anything to talk about else. On our website, you can sign up for our free newsletter. It says 25 free plans, but actually it's now 50 free plans. We double the number of free plans. And these are plans. These are not just sketches of rockets. These are dimension drawings. You got fin templates. You got decals, complete list of materials. All that stuff is in the plans. All 50 of them. So yeah, we put a lot of effort into making those, and we give those away free when you subscribe to our newsletter. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to that. Get on our mailing list. Every week we put out either a newsletter or video. And I'm trying to think, what week was it this week? Was it a video or a newsletter? Let me look. I think it was a video, redundant electronics for dual deployment rockets. So next week will be a newsletter. And I've already put the newsletter, scheduled it to come out because I will be gone. It's that time of year where we're going to the World Space Modeling Championships. And I will be off for a few weeks until Labor Day. So I I had to get all my newsletters already put to bed and ready to go. And I got one more video to make. And I shot the video this morning. And I got to do the editing and upload it and get it all scheduled so that it goes out while I'm away at the World Space Modeling Championships in Serbia. So we leave next Thursday, so it's going to be fun. So I will not be back here for RockSim Live until the Friday after Labor Day. But if you have questions, we do have a lot of experts here on our staff that know RockSim. So you can ask your questions via email and we will answer them. And if all else fails, I'm taking my laptop and my cell phone with me so I can be anywhere in the world answering questions. So cool. Yeah, so that was the newsletter. Also in this banner bar, there's an ad for the launch visualizer. This is our 3D simulation that uses RockSim files. So you upload your RockSim files into the cloud, so you don't have to download any software, and you can run your simulations in the cloud, and you can see them in 3D, and it's just amazing. And then here is RockSim 11. This is our latest version. So if you click on that, it will take you where you can order it. If you would like a free demo, go here to the How To and Guides menu, click on that, and then come down here to Software, and then come over to right here, RockSim 11 free trial, and you can get a 30-day free trial. It's got all the bells and whistles. It just stops the flight at Apogee, so you can't see where it lands. If you want to see where it lands, then you got to upgrade and get the full version. But I think we're at $50 for RockSim 11, which is a screaming price. Also on this page, you can find out, if you've never used RockSim before, you can find out what is RockSim, what does it do. You can see some of the specific features, the frequently asked questions, what you can do with RockSim, a little bit more involved, the system requirements, what kind of computer you're going to use, and basically, if you're running a computer and it's not Windows 10, it'll run fine. Version history tells you, like we're on version 11, so were all the features added from version 1 all the way to version 11. Over here, we have the video tutorials. So this is if you have never used RockSim before and you just want to walk through it. Go to those videos, and they're labeled 1 through 30 something. Just start at number 1, and we'll get you up and running a simple simulation like that. And then there's RockSim Live Training is what we're doing right now. There's video tutorials for RockSim Pro. RockSim Pro is our 6th degree of freedom simulator, and everything is in 3D. So it's kind of like the launch visualizer, but it can do even more. Yeah, so that's kind of like the basics of RockSim. And if you're on the home page and you scroll down here to the free RockSim training every week, that's what we're doing right now. And if you click on the image, it will take you to the archive page where there's even more videos on how to use RockSim. So we're never going to leave you in the dark. We're always here to help, try to get you up and running as quick as possible. We're behind you 100%. We want to make sure that you succeed in designing rockets and simulating them because it's going to make you a better rocketeer. Even that free version, we don't make any money on it. But where we make money is when you come back and you want to buy rocket kits and supplies and components. Yeah, so we give you the knowledge for free, and then you buy the stuff from us, and we both make out. Okay. Question number 1 from Curtis Howe, who's from Michigan. He says, #1 crown, #1 fan. Tim, what is your opinion of using polystyrene sheet for skinning fins? And how would you show this in RockSim? Okay. So skinning fins, yes, polystyrene works. It works fine. So polystyrene versus other materials. So if you want maximum strength, the maximum strength is going to come from skinning with carbon fiber. And we sell some carbon fiber sheets. These aren't, these sheet size, I don't know if you can see me, but they're, like about that big. I think they're 4 inches, 3.9 inches wide by 9.8 inches long. So these are good for small fins, and they're good for skinning. And the nice thing is it's got a glass smooth surface. So not only does it add a lot of strength, but there's no finishing. It's like you're ready for paint if you want to paint. Otherwise, some people like that carbon fiber look. You can even make these are competition models that are small and lightweight, and you can even use it for just complete fins because it's very stiff. These are the competition models that people on our team are going to be flying at the World Space Modeling Championships. They're going to use rockets like this that are made out of composite materials. Composite means it's a mixture of 2 or more materials. The carbon fiber is a composite, so it's got 2 materials in it. It's got carbon fiber, which are strings of graphite, basically carbon, and then it's held together in a matrix of epoxy. So that's the other material. Fiberglass epoxy is another composite material. When you're skinning a fin, you are basically making a composite because you can start with balsa wood and then you can add a skin to the top and now you have a composite material. So the strongest would be carbon fiber. The next strongest would be fiberglass. You can skin with plywood. You can go down to the hobby store and find very thin plywood. I think there's 1/64 is the thinnest I've seen, and I've used it for skinning fins. And then after plywood, the next strongest would probably be, well, this is where it could be either paper or polystyrene. So the advantage of polystyrene is it's got a very smooth surface and it bonds really good to balsa wood or any type of wood. You can use CA, or CA is cyanoacrylate, which is super glue, or you can use epoxy to bond the skins to both sides of the fin. Paper is, depending on the thickness of paper, it can be as strong. The disadvantage of paper is that it's not as smooth as polystyrene, but once you put that skin on, you're probably going to finish it with paint anyway. It's going to be smooth enough to paint over it, and it's hardly going to take any sanding. Polystyrene won't take any sanding, but paper would take just fine grit sandpaper, like 400 or 600 grit sandpaper, and it'll be nice and smooth. So how do you do it in RockSim? So let's open up a rocket. So you come up here to the open button, and I got the spinny ball because my computer is slow. Let me go to RockSim Design. I'm just looking for a small rocket here that we can just show how to put on skins. Okay, Estes Apogee Wayfarer. So this rocket right here is a BT60 size, so it's 1.6 inches in diameter, and it's a nice looking rocket. And actually, these have decals, and the decals, they're vinyl, but it is a skin. They almost completely cover the entire fin. So technically, you're skinning the fin when you put a decal on. It doesn't add a lot of strength though. Vinyl, the advantage is you get a nice smooth surface and it's really glossy, and you can print on it and you can make a beautiful decal. The disadvantage is vinyl is stretchy, so it doesn't have any strength to it. A little bit of strength, but not enough to do anything. So how would you do this in RockSim? So let's go to the design components. I've got 3 fins here, and we did 3 fins because we wanted a different decal on each fin. So you can see that this one is like a nebula of stars, and then this one right here is, you know, more individual stars. So what you would do, there's a couple ways to do this. The easiest would be just to add a mass object. So you open up your fin, and you'd weigh your fin. So you put your skins on the fin, and then you just weigh it. And then you come over here to the mass override tab, click on that, and then just give it a mass. You know, like, so right now, RockSim calculates that mass at 1.176 grams. And say you skin that, and now it's 2.5 grams. So you'd put 2.5 grams in there, and then you have to give it a CG. So you take your fin, before you put it on the rocket, and you balance it. And you find out where it balances along the root edge, so the edge that is glued to the tube. You measure down from where it starts, hits the tube, measure down to where it balances. So now this is a trapezoid fin, so where it balances is a little bit tricky, but you can figure it out by just balancing it on your finger and then just using a ruler and measuring back. So this fin, if I look at the root edge, I'm at 3.126. So I'm just going to guess. I'll guess like maybe 1.3 inches. I'm guessing. So you'd have to measure it. And then you just click this little checkbox here. And now RockSim is using that information. And you can see it says the mass override is on. That means we've overridden this number right here, and now we're using this number. So that's the easiest way to do it, is just find the mass and just use the mass override. That's how I would do it. I'd recommend it. Now, there's another way if you want to get really picky, is you would duplicate the fin, and you need to sandwich the skins together. And it just takes too much work. So I'm not even going to tell you how to do it. Unless you really, really, really beg, because it's a pain in the butt. Purple Haze is here, and he says he is David H. from Michigan, and he's sweating. I have the air conditioning on, so it's a warm day here in Colorado, but it's a dry heat. So it's better than that hot, humid heat that you have there in Michigan. And 462 Tool says, I live where the temperature reaches over 100 degrees in the summer and 30 below in the winter. I store my composite motors in my garage, and they are exposed to this. Could this be an issue? Composite motors, no. Composite motors, if you ever took apart a reload and you looked at the propellant is rubbery. It's kind of like the consistency of a pencil eraser. So it's kind of like a hard rubber. And because it's a hard rubber, it's going to be resilient to expansion, because rubber can expand and contract, and it doesn't really do anything. You got tires on your car, and they're exposed to the same heat and cold, and they work just fine. Now, black powder motors is a different story. Now, black powder is wrapped in a paper case, and they are different materials. Again, it's kind of like a composite material. They're different, and they have different expansion ratios. And the paper is going to swell and contract at a different rate than the propellant inside. Where in composite motors, it's rubber, so and the rubber is sticky, so it sticks to the outer surface. And so if the outer surface expands, it's going to expand. And if the outer surface contracts, it's going to contract. But black powder doesn't do that. The black powder propellant is very hard. It's kind of like chalk. You know, you had a big stick of chalk. It's hard like that. A little bit heavier, but hard. And if you drop it, you're going to crack it. And those cracks, that's what causes the motors to KO. Because the burning rate is dependent on the surface area. So when it starts burning, it's got a very small surface area, but when it hits a crack, all of a sudden the surface area just increases astronomically. So now all of a sudden the burning rate just goes really high, and it goes so, you know, it's burning so fast and producing so much gas that the case can't hold that pressure, and it bursts like popping a balloon, and that's called a KO. It's not really an explosion. We call it that they blow up, but it's really that the case has burst. It can't contain the pressure. So storing black powder motors, you want to keep them more consistent. So it can be hot or it can be cold, but try to be consistent so that everything, you know, it's not this constant expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. And what's just as bad is humidity swings. So high humidity, low humidity, high humidity, low humidity. That affects black powder too. So if you have the option, you know, store them in a box and put some desiccant in there, and that will keep the humidity relatively level. And then just, you know, try to store you know, if they're in your garage and your garage gets cold in the winter, I would say put them up high on a high shelf, because any heat in the garage is going to rise to the ceiling. So that's going to be the warm spot. Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question. Curtis Howe says, also outstanding question from someone was 3 versus 6 fins. Okay, so a few weeks ago, we had a question, and it was like, when would you use 3 fins? When would you use 6 fins on your rocket? Okay, so this rocket right here uses 3 fins, and you can see there's 3 fins. So let's look at it from the back end. Actually, we got 3. I'm going to open up a different rocket, because all the fins are different fins. Like I said, we split them up. So I'm going to look for a different rocket, just so that we're working with a fin set and not individual fins. I'm looking for something smallish. Quest Sport. I'm not even sure. I'm sure that's small. Save my changes. No. Okay, so here is the Quest Sport, and we look at it from the back. This one's got 4 fins. Okay, we look at it from the back. You can see the 4 fins. If we look at it from the side, we can see our fins over here. So the first thing is, I'm going to change this to a 3 fin so you can see. So I'm going to go to the rocket. I'm going to stay in the rocket design components, highlight the fin set, and double click on it, and it will open up the editor. And from the editor, I'm going to change it to 3 fins. You can see all of a sudden it's 3 fins. And if I look at it from the back of the rocket, you can see 3 fins. Okay, I'm going to look at it from the side. Okay, so here's the big difference between 3 and 6 fins. So 3 fins puts the center of pressure right here on the rocket. And that's important, because we need the center of pressure to be behind the center of gravity. Here's the center of gravity. It's this symbol. Here's the center of pressure. So at center of pressure, if you look over here, we're at 11.75 inches, and that's measured from the tip of the nose cone. So from here to here is 11.75 inches. Now, if I change this to 6 fins, now, did you see that move? It moved from 11.75 to 12.34 inches back. So what adding more fins, which is what we expect, is going to make the rocket more stable. So if you need to make your rocket more stable, one of the techniques is to add more fins. Now, the downside of adding fins is it also increases drag. So adding more fins makes it more stable, but it also means it has more drag. More drag means it's not going to go as high or as fast as a 3-fin rocket. So if you want altitude, you want to minimize the number of fins, and 3 is the minimum for a stable rocket. And I say that and with tongue-in-cheek because we have talked about 2-fin rockets here before. Technically, 2 fins would be more stable, but or less draggy, but it depends on how you do it. Here's the thing, though. If you want to know how, okay, let's run a simulation, and I'll show you. So I got it at 6 fins right now. Click OK, and we're going to run a simulation. So I'm going to click on Prepare for Launch. And we're going to choose an engine. And I want to choose an engine. I want it to go really high. So let's choose an Aerotech E18. And I'm going to say 7. But I'm going to say deploy at Apogee because I want it to go as high as possible. I don't want it to deploy before Apogee. So I'm going to say deploy at Apogee. Let's see what my flight conditions are. We got an 8-mile-an-hour wind. And let's just launch it and see what happens. So that's how quickly you can set up and launch. Okay, so this motor with 6 fins went 2,891 feet. So now let's go and change it to 3 fins, and I expect that number to be higher. So I'm going to go back to the design components, click on the fin set, change it to 3 fins, and click OK. So now, changing it to 3 fins changed 2 things. First, it changed the drag, which we expected. Also, it changed the mass of the rocket because 6 fins weigh more than 3 fins. So we're going to ignore that. We're only going to say it's changing the drag. And what we do is we run another simulation. And so I'm not going to change anything, so I'm just going to push the launch button a second time and just let it run a simulation. Nothing's changed. And so this time, the 3 fins went 3,313 feet high. So 3 fins did go higher than 6 fins. But again, the caveat is 3 fins weighs just a little bit less than 6 fins. So that's the discussion on do you want to use 3 fins or 6 fins? If you need stability, add more fins. If you want to go higher, take fins off. Yeah. 462 Tool says, another question. Our rocket club is now requiring tracking on any rocket going over 3,000 feet. Do you have any recommendations? Well, of course. So the question I have for you is, what kind of tracker? Does it have to be a GPS tracker? Or, because we sell different kinds of trackers. If you go to the shop menu on our website, come down here to to electronics and payloads. Click on that. And then come over here to rocket. You'll see there's rocket locators. And we'll click on that. Okay, so here are the devices for locating your rocket. And the simplest device is this one here called a micro beacon. And what this micro beacon does, all it does is it just makes a noise, and it makes like a siren noise. So, ooh, 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 and it's really loud. Does it tell me how many decibels? I'm sure it does in here on somewhere. Doesn't tell me. But basically, you attach it to the base of the nose cone, and when the nose cone comes off, now it's out in the air and it makes a noise. So technically, this is a rocket locator, but I don't know if this is what your club defines as a rocket locator. They might be, say, GPS. But if you want GPS, we have a number of different options. The first one is the simple GPS. And this is a all-in-one unit. So you got it comes with a handheld device. So it's two parts. There's the part that goes in your rocket. So this piece right here goes in your rocket. And then right here is the locator. And this is GPS. And so you mount the device in your rocket, you launch it, and it tells you where your rocket is. It'll give you the GPS location, and it'll also give you a pointer. So right here is the pointer, and the pointer is going this way. So it's basically saying, walk that direction. And if you keep walking in that direction, you'll eventually stumble upon your rocket. Just walk where the arrow is pointing. And that's what we call it simple, because it's just, you just put it in your rocket, turn it on, and launch it. Now we have other devices. That we have the featherweight GPS tracker. This device requires you to have a ground station. And then on top of the ground station, it needs to have Bluetooth connection to your phone. So you need your phone, you need the ground station, and then you need the part that goes in the rocket. And these are nice. They're beautiful. Let me see if I can show you the ground station. So the ground station looks like this. And we sell the ground station as well. You know, it looks like that. It's got a little battery in it, and it uses Bluetooth. And, you know, it just connects to your phone. And then on your phone is where you have the application that tells you where the rocket landed and gives you a map to go find your rocket. They're beautiful devices. Can't say enough about them. They're a little bit more involved than the simple tracker, but they're still easy. And then we got other devices. It's okay. This one is the Tele GPS. This is similar, but here's the device you put in your rocket. But you also need to connect it to a battery. Again, you're going to need a ground station and an antenna on your ground station, and also it connects. You can connect it to your computer, so you need to bring your computer out with you. I think they have an app for your phone as well. These are different from the featherweight trackers in that they use a different frequency, so you need a ham license, where on the featherweight locator you don't. So it sounds like the featherweight is better, but here's the problem. If you go to a big launch, there's so many people using the featherweight GPS tracker that they always have problems with people turning on their transmitter in the rocket and other people are tracking that rocket and they lost their own rocket. So their rocket's over here, a new rocket goes up with the same frequency, and now instead of tracking your own rocket, you're tracking somebody else's rocket where that one landed, and now your rocket is gone. You have no idea where it went. This happens. We went to National Sport Launch this summer. We went to LDRS this summer, and it's a big problem. Featherweight is trying to come up with a solution, but the solution right now is that they impound your transmitters. So basically, you have to take your transmitter and you have to give it to somebody sitting at the desk until it's your turn to fly. And then when it's your turn to fly, they give it back to you. They give you the frequency that says, okay, you can fly on that frequency, and then off you go. So it's a little bit more involved. There's a little bit, it happens every launch. But they're good trackers. And also on our website, there's other beacons. We have the micro beacon, the RBO2 beacon, the Transol Beep-X. So it's like Goldilocks. This is the loudest, this is medium, this is the quietest. For the quietest one, you have to get pretty close before you're going to hear it. These are really good for when your rocket lands in corn. So if you're flying near a cornfield or sunflowers or any kind of crop, or a swamp where you can't see your rocket if it goes down. Here in Colorado, these aren't so popular because our grass is like this tall. So it's like if it lands on the ground, it's not enveloped in the grass. So we see fewer of them here, but we sell them to other parts of the country. Also, there's the Telemega and the Altus Telemetrum. They're also GPS, but the advantage of those is they are also data transmitters, so you can download data, like your accelerometer data, which is really cool. So even if you lost your rocket, you got all the data. So you have to pick which one suits you best. We wouldn't sell them if we didn't recommend them. So it depends on what your situation is. No more questions. So my viewers, where are you? We still got like 20 minutes. No more questions. I had a customer that asked me, he sent me this picture of a back end of a rocket, and it's a 38 millimeter mount, and he wants to put a 29 in it. And he was asking, he's got this type of retainer. This type of retainer was a little bit more popular in the past. It's called a Kaplow clip, named after Bob Kaplow, the guy that says he invented it. So it's just a piece of bent metal with a screw hole in it, and then you screw it into the bottom of your rocket, and it's like a little hook that hangs over the outside of the motor, and it prevents the motor from slipping out. So his question is, this is the kind of retaining system I have in my rocket. What's the best way to do a 29 millimeter adapter in a 38 millimeter mount? So I've been thinking about this because this email came in right before this episode. And if you go to the Apogee website, so there's a number of options. It's kind of like, what is better? And that's like, yeah. So on the website, go to the shopping, come down here to building supplies, and we want to go to motor retainers and hooks. And okay, so there's a couple of different options. The Kaplow clip is kind of sort of like a plate retainer. So a plate retainer is like a metal disc, and these are made by Mad Cow, so it's a metal, piece of sheet steel that's been machined to that dimension, and I don't have a good picture of it, sorry. And you screw it into the bottom. I don't have a good picture at all. You screw it into these screws into the bottom of your rocket, and then you can capture the motor from both sides by this metal clip. So basically, if you have those screws in there, you theoretically, let me see, can use a 29 millimeter if the hole spacing is the same. That's the question, is does this hole pattern on the 29 millimeter match the 38? And if they don't match, well, then you got a problem. Then I would say don't use them. But those are cheap. The next option is a flat bottom. Flat bottom retainer. So this is kind of like, you're going to take this and you're going to put it on the bottom of your rocket like that, and it captures the motor, so it prevents the motor from backing out. And you can see it's kind of like a quarter turn type of thing. So if you want to take it off, you give it a quarter turn and you just pop it off. So once you have that on for 38, to hold the 29, basically you just need a disc on the inside where the nozzle can stick out through that hole, but it blocks the rest of the motor. And we do have, let's see, motor adapters that use something like that. Let's call it. Let me click back here. And I want to open up a new tab. And I'm looking for a retainer. And I want an adapter, motor adapter. Motor adapt. Let's see if I can spell. Motor adapter. Those aren't motor. Here's a 29 to 38. This is the Aeropack adapter. And so basically, it has this tube that the outside diameter is 38 millimeters. So it's 38 millimeters here and 38 millimeters here. And then it's a little bit bigger than 38 right here. So when you slide it into your tube, this will stop it from going too far in. So then you slide in your 29 millimeter inside of that. And then this is the disc that I was talking about that you put on the back that will capture everything. So you need this right here, plus you need that flat bottom motor retainer. So that would work as an option. The third option I would say is you can, let's see if I can unclick on this, is to find some metal and make your own clips that will attach to a 29. So basically you're using the same screw holes. So what I would do is find a metal can, like, you got green beans, and take a pair of tin snips, the really heavy duty scissors, and cut out a rectangle, and then take a pair of pliers and bend it to the right shape, and then drill a hole in it, and basically you've recreated the caplow clip. Ideally, you'd want it a little bit thicker, but steel is strong, even a steel can. I'm sure it's going to hold. You just don't want it to flex where it will let go. But, you know, steel is, you know, if you could find steel that's just a little bit thicker. I'm just trying to think of a consumer product that you can buy that has a thicker steel that you can cut and make your own clip. That would probably be the cheapest and the simplest, but you do have to do a little bit of bending and drilling. But it would be cheap. It would be dirt cheap. All right. So that answers that question. Any other RockSim questions? So we got RockSim going on here. This is what we're here to talk about today. So let me bring up the launch visualizer. So I'm going to open up and close some windows here. And you go to rocksim.com is the launch visualizer. And when you get here, okay, so this is what it looks like when you first get here, and it's going to load in a generic rocket, and it's the Apogee Avion. You can see it's on the pad, and this is three-dimensional. I can spin it, find the right key combination. There we go. Hold down the shift key and click, and then you can rotate it around. I'm going to log in so I can use my account. And let me log in. Sign in. Okay, so once you're signed in, it'll tell you, you know, that you're signed in. It tells me I'm a premium and I got this many credits. So 1 credit is worth 1 Newton second. So a C motor would be equivalent to 10 Newton seconds. So I've got a lot. I've added a lot to my account so I could run a lot of simulations. So let me load a select rocket design. And if I choose, so there's 2 buttons up here. You can upload a new one or select one. I hit choose design. I'm looking for FAI rocket. So FAI stands for, it's a French word, so it's, I don't even know what it means. But it basically means it's the organization that runs international aviation events. Anything that goes up in the air, hot air balloons, gliders, model airplanes, model rockets are all covered by the FAI. So if you want to create a world record, you go to the FAI. And the FAI sanctions international competition. So that's why it's sanctioned by the FAI. And so I'm going to select an FAI rocket, and this is the kind of rocket that we're going to fly at the competition. So in this rocket, it can be, this rocket right here is your basic rocket. So you can fly it as a streamer duration rocket, a parachute duration rocket, and you can also fly it as a helicopter duration rocket if you put the blades on the inside, which is what we all do. So what I wanted to show you was on the launch site, it's going to load the maps, and I'm waiting for it to load. There we go. It's got to connect to the internet. This is our launch pad in Pueblo, Colorado. Let me make this map a little bit bigger. That's as big as you can make it. So if I swing it around, so north is at the top, will be more oriented. So the black arrow points to the north, and then I can zoom out. And what I'm looking for is the launch site in Serbia, because I put that launch site into the launch visualizer so that anybody that's going over to Serbia can run their simulations on the launch site that we're going to be at. So there's Africa, and my north got moved. So all these pins are actually on the opposite side of the world. But there is one pin in Serbia. Okay, so where is Serbia? Serbia is right over here somewhere. I think it's right here. This green one right here. Yep, here it is. The FAI site, Aradak, Serbia. So it's east or west of Bulgaria and east of Croatia. So we're going to be flying into Belgrade, and then we got like an hour and a half drive to Zenijin, however you say it. And this is the launch site right there. Oops. I went too far. My launch site is right there. And it's actually, my launch site is in the air. So, confirm launch site. So this is the launch site we're going to be launching from. And what, when I go to a launch, I want to know what the terrain is like. Because I want to know how hard it is going to be to find my rockets. So to me, this looks like a really nice launch field. It's got a lot of grass. I don't think those are trees. It's darker color, but I don't think that's trees. It might be a swamp or something. So over here, we got some farmers' fields. And then up here is the town that we're going to be staying in. I think that's the town we're staying in. Nope, it's this one. It's a little bit bigger. So somewhere in here we're going to be staying. Yeah, so now those right there are trees. I can tell that's a tree. So I think the launch site looks to be pretty nice. Which was over here. It's like they said it's like a 15-minute drive. Right there. And so we've got our FAI rocket right there. Starting state, we're going to be launching straight up. And I don't know what the wind is going to be like. I'll say it's a steady wind. I'll call it 4 miles an hour. I hope it's not higher than that. Click OK. Our rocket motors. So this is where you'll go to choose your engines. The unfortunate thing is we don't have any of the international motors. So the closest I can use is an Estes A3. And I'll choose a 4-second delay. Click OK. And then we're going to launch. So the launch button is down here in the bottom left corner. And we launch. And I'm only using 3 Newton seconds. So simulate that. And it's running the simulation in the cloud. And it was successful. Oh, my rocket all changed shape. But look at this. It's in the air for 3,600 seconds. Wow. So what happened there, man? I didn't go that high, did I? 300, 400, 400 feet. I wonder if I got a big old parachute in here. All that white stuff right here is smoke, so I'm just waiting for the smoke to clear. And then all of a sudden my background turned black. So what happened there? Am I underground? It says I'm at an altitude of 0 feet. Okay, so we're at 353. And then we jump to 0. So something happened. Let's try a different rocket. So to try a different rocket, close that screen. Let's go to select rocket. Let's choose. I'm going to move this over so I can hit the choose button. Choose a design. Let's choose something else. How about an Apogee Apprentice? Select that. And we'll choose a different motor. We're going to keep the launch site the same. Choose an engine. B6-4. Click OK. And launch. And it's got to simulate. Okay, so the rocket, so this one's going to be in the air for 40 seconds. So rocket's taking off. We're seeing smoke and fire. I'm zooming out a little bit so we can kind of see. Oh, there's the parachute. And I think we could have gone higher. And the rocket is right here right now. And it's going to be in the air for 40 seconds. I'm going to grab the slider and move it to 40. And then I want to show the trajectory, so I'll come up here to Settings, and then show the trajectory path, and click OK. Okay, so here is the trajectory path. So there is where the rocket was launched. It reached peak altitude right there, and then came down and landed here. Landed a distance of 208 feet, so that's pretty good. Yeah, I like this launch site because I don't think there's going to be any hazards as far as collecting rockets, even if that's like no matter which direction we go, although if it lands over here, I don't know what's growing. These are crops, so what is the farmer growing? That I don't know yet. So if the rocket catches a thermal and lands over here, what's it going to land in? This might be a good idea for a tracker. But this distance right here is 200 feet. So, multiply that by 5, and here's about 1,000 feet. Here's about 2,000 feet, which is about a half a mile away. So if we get more than like 1,500 feet, we might be in these crops. Again, depends on which direction the wind is blowing. All right, no more questions. Well, it's almost 3 o'clock. So this launch site is in the launch visualizer. And I added another one this week. I found out there's a Tripoli club down in Argentina. You didn't think there was a Tripoli club. I was asking, how do they get motors down there? Well, let me click on that button. So if you have any problems, since the software is not on your computer, you just hit the refresh button. And it will reload everything. And now it's starting to work. So go to the launch sites. My computer's acting really slow. This is not the website. This is my computer. Now it's reloading everything. Okay, so the launch site. And let me see, let's type in Argentina. Oops, I want to choose a launch site first before I can search. There it is. Experimental Rocketry and Modeling Association of Argentina. So I'm going to click OK on that. And it will take me down to South America. And I just got this launch site this week. I was corresponding to a person that lives down there. And he's an Apogee customer, of course, even in Argentina. Yeah, and the coordinates he gave me is a clump of trees. Really? You're launching from a clump of trees? But everything else around the trees looks pretty good. Just kind of zooming out here. Okay, so there's Buenos Aires, Argentina, and it's just kind of like almost due south of Buenos Aires. So if you're unfamiliar with the shape of Argentina, there it is in South America. And they're at a latitude of minus 35 degrees. So they're kind of like their latitude is like as far, because Colorado Springs, our latitude is like in the 30s. So they're actually closer to the equator than we are here in Colorado Springs. They're even closer than Amarillo, Texas. Still a latitude of 37 degrees. And that's like, come on, don't spin. I want you to rotate this way. It wants to spin. Anyway, so you get the idea. So their weather must be fairly similar to what ours is here, although right now they're in the winter time. So I wonder how cold it is there. This is just going crazy. Anyway, yeah, so to all of our Argentinians friends, welcome. If you're watching, if you're not, we wish you were here. So I think we'll close out because we're at 3 o'clock. Had a lot of fun. We talked about 3 fins versus 6 fins. We talked about skinning fins, doing launches in Serbia, doing launches in Argentina. With the launch visualizer, you can launch anywhere you want in the world, as you saw, which makes it really cool. And, you know, what I look for is I want to scout out what the field looks like, so that I'm prepared. So I don't think I'm going to have to run through any forests. So I don't probably, but I don't know if there's any marshes that I need to wear boots for. That's a good question. So something that I can't ask, but you can ask me when I get back. All right, no other questions. So we're going to give you a countdown and we'll launch, and then we'll see you on the Friday after Labor Day, which is September 2nd, I believe. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go out and launch something.